Yo, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time, the movie called Clue. So Clue was released in 1985. It's a murder mystery comedy based on the board game called Clue. You know, the movie premise is the same as the game, where Mr. Body gets killed and then it's a whodunit to figure out who the murderer is. It's a cult classic today, but originally it was actually considered a flop. You know, this is because the production company came up with a gimmick where they would create 3 different endings, and depending on what theater you went to, you would get one of those 3 endings. There was actually rumored to be a 4th ending, but they never filmed it. The reasoning behind this gimmick was because they were saying they wanted to make the movie like the game, where every time you played it, you could get a different outcome and a different murderer. But let's be real, the real reason for this was it was a money grab, you know, and people did not want to spend more money to see it again. So it backfired and they ended up not making as much money on it as they thought it would. Then fast forward a few years later, the home video release came out, and there you could actually watch all 3 endings in a row. And so it got a little bit of a bigger following. Then after that, it went to cable, which is where I actually saw it first. You know, I was just flipping through channels and I came across it, and I thought it was immediately so funny. It was slapstick comedy. The physical comedy was on point, and sometimes it was just completely silly and completely ridiculous.
He believed that you were all thoroughly un-American.
Sorry.
Officer.
You're too late. I've seen it all.
You have? I can explain everything.
You don't have to.
I don't.
Don't worry. There's nothing illegal about any of this.
Are you sure?
Of course. This is America.
I see.
It's a free country. Don't you know that?
I didn't know it was that free.
This is incredible!
Not so incredible as what happened next, after we all split up again.
But I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was a really funny movie. And the great thing about this movie is that it knows exactly what it is. They don't try too hard to be a murder mystery, but they know when to be a little more serious and when to take a darker tone.
I'm a little nervous. I'm in this big house, and I've been locked into the lounge. Yes. The funny thing is, there's a whole group of people here having some sort of party. And one of them is my old boss from...
And they really know when to be funny and when to ham it up. The pacing is a little slow in the beginning. The second act, it does pick up, and then the third act is where it really shines and it just really gets bonkers, you know. And Tim Curry, who plays the butler, is really great throughout the whole thing. But in the third act, where he's running around, he's explaining the murderers and he's out of breath, it's just fantastic work by him. And speaking of the cast, they were all great. So many big names came out of this movie. Of course, there was Tim Curry. He had already made a name for himself with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then went on to do lots of other things. There was Christopher Lloyd, who would go on to do Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit and do a ton of other things. He played Professor Plum. Then there was Michael McKean, who plays Mr. Green. He went on to do a ton of other things too. One cool thing that I just found out recently within the last few years is that he's also on one of my favorite TV shows right now, Better Call Saul. So that was a cool connection when I made that connection. Then there's Martin Mull, who plays Colonel Mustard, Eileen Brennan, who plays Mrs. Peacock, Leslie Ann Warren, who plays Miss Scarlet. And then there's Madeline Kahn, who plays Mrs. White, who's done a lot of great comedy and probably has one of the most famous and repeated lines from the whole movie.
I hated her so much. It flames on the side of my face, heaving breaths.
The thing about this line is that it was completely improvised by Madeline Kahn, and the director did not like going off the script, but it was so good that he let them just keep rolling and go with it. And then the reactions to what she was doing were real because the cast didn't know what she was doing. If you look at Tim Curry, he's trying not to laugh. Martin Mull and Christopher Lloyd they're looking at each other like, what's she doing? Because they didn't know what she was doing. It was great. One horrible bit of acting, though, was that the person that plays Mr. Body, Lee Ving, was not good. Luckily he gets killed, so there's not much acting for him to do.
The only way to avoid finding yourselves on the front pages is for one of you to kill Wadsworth. Now.
But apparently the studio wanted this actor because he was a big rock star at the time. He wasn't the first, second, or even third choice for the director, but the studio wanted him, so he had to go with it. Apparently he was the front man for an LA punk band called Fear. I don't know. I've never heard of him, but it does make sense why he wasn't a good actor. Another casting tidbit is that Miss Scarlet was almost played by Carrie Ann Fisher of Star Wars fame. She had apparently signed on to the movie and entered rehab right before filming started, like a week before filming started.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
But Leslie Ann Warren did such a great job that it's hard to imagine Carrie Ann Fisher in the role, but it's a crazy what if still. So I'm not going to go into detail about the movie though, because if you're watching this video, you've probably already seen it and you know what happens. But if you haven't seen it, 1, go watch it. Then 2, come back and watch my video. Actually, watch my video again. Get me some views.
Everything all right?
Yep, 2 corpses, everything's fine. Anybody else want a whiskey?
Yeah.
All right, look.
Clue is easily one of my favorite movies of all time. The rewatchability is great. I've seen it so many times and I still enjoy all the stupid jokes and the gags.
Look! What? The body's gone! Huh?
And, every time you watch it, you can pick up on little things that you never caught before. So that's it. That's why Clue is a classic. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me or if you think the movie was trash and I'm completely wrong. So one last thing, apparently they are looking to make a remake of this movie. And I'm always weary when studios make remakes, but I think a movie like Clue would actually work out really well because you could change a lot of the things, but you can still have a lot of the same kind of humor and slapstick comedy, but with just more updated jokes and gags. Also, Ryan Reynolds is attached to star of the film, and the writers from Deadpool will be working on it also. So I think it really has a lot of good potential to be a good remake. I do wonder though if they will do the multiple endings like they did with the original. I think they should, but they should just let all 3 play and not trying to do any gimmicks about getting only one of the endings. They should let everybody see all of the endings. And that's it. Or Another thing they could do is that they could let the movie end, let the credits roll, and then do one mid-credit scene, and then do an end credit scene after the credits, because that's really popular now. So if it does happen, remember who said it first. So that's it. That's why Clue is one of my favorite movies.
And to make a long story short,
Stay tuned, and I'll come back with some of my other favorite movies, and we'll talk about those.